Good afternoon to you. You are watching the live broadcast of the Senate on this April 20th. The year is 2023. This particular broadcast is brought to you courtesy of the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation in conjunction with the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit. In the order paper this afternoon, senators will be considering a couple of businesses before the House. Happens or is the consideration of the nominee for the appointment as the chairperson of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. This will be a special motion that will be moved by the chairperson, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs. Senators have already started considering this particular motion and has a balance of 2 hours and 50 minutes, after which the senators will either be concurring with these particular proposals or approve the appointment of David Oginde as the chairperson of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Senators will equally be resuming debate on a motion, and this particular motion is the report on inquiry regarding sexual harassment of female workers in tea estates in Kericho County. The leader of the majority party will equally be moving a motion on the general debate on the proposal to Parliament to consider amending its standing orders. You remember, as it is at the moment, cabinet secretaries have already started appearing before the National Assembly. That is yet to commence at the Senate. The business of the Senate is just about to commence. I now hand over for the live broadcast. Enjoy your viewing.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor and blessings us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you've committed to our charge. Amen. Clerk, do we have the requisite quorum? Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
The Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Kingi, currently presiding over the business of the Senate, has directed the Sergeant at Arms to ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes. And this particular directive falls in the House Standing Orders that gives the Speaker the powers to direct the Sergeant at Arms to ring the quorum bell at such a time when the House lacks the requisite quorum to commence business. A look at the order paper this afternoon pursuant to standing orders of the House, order number 42, subsection 2C, Honorable Sylvia Muge for Nandi County will have her petition presented before the House this afternoon, and this particular statement is on the issuance of the diplomatic passports to Kenyan athletes. There appears to have raised that particular quorum. I now hand you over so you can follow up on the developments from the chamber.
Papers, order number 6, notices of motion.
The Chairperson Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations. You have a notice to give to your motion. Kindly proceed to take the floor.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to make a statement sought by Senator on statement made by Mheshimiwa Kataya on the relocation of national government administration services from Chuka to
Senator
Kadawa County.
Abbas, you are supposed to give notice, not to make a statement.
Speaker, sir, I wish to give notice of motion adopting of the report of the Standing Committee on the Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on a statement sought on relocation of national government administrative services from Chuka Town to Kidawana County Headquarters, Tarakaniri. I beg to lay. Mr. Speaker, I stand to be corrected that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations on a statement sought on the relocation of national government administrative services from Chuka Town to Kidawana County Headquarters, Tarakaniri County, laid on the table on the Senate on Wednesday, 19th April 2023.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
Statement pursuant to Standing Order 52-1, the Honorable Senator Hamida Kibwana. Not present, that statement is dropped. Statements pursuant to Standing Order 53-1. Again, the Honorable Hamida Kibwana. That statement is dropped from today's order paper. Senator for Nairobi City County, Senator Edwin Sifuna. That statement is dropped from today's order paper. Statements pursuant to Standing Order 57-1. This is the statement by Majority Leader. Majority Leader, proceed to make your statement under Standing Order 57-1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Apologies. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 57-1, I hereby present the business of the Senate for the week commencing Tuesday, the 25th of April, 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, Insofar as legislative business is concerned, there are 26 bills which have been published in the Senate. Out of these bills, 17 are due for second reading stage, and 4 are the committee of the whole stage. A further 4 bills are undergoing concurrence pursuant to Article 110 of the Constitution, and 1 bill was enacted into law. Mr. Speaker, of course, I have explained time without number that anytime we clock the magical 24, you have seen the whips, Whip Boni Halwale, though the whip on the minority side is not there, neither his deputy. We expect, Mr. Speaker, that when we reach that particular number, because of the many challenges of how this House operates, we request that the House, and I want to appreciate because members have always indulged us whenever we've requested, Mr. Speaker, that we go to a division for any of these bills that have been listed here. I wish to request and plead with members that when we get to that particular time, we transact any of these bills, either in second reading or third reading, so that we conclude on the business that is before the House and move on to other things, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, we'll find ourselves in a situation where you have bills that are stuck in either second reading or third reading. As indicated in today's order paper, Mr. Speaker, at order number 8, the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2023, is pending division at second reading stage at order number 9. The bill has been scheduled for the Committee of the Whole. This is a critical financial instrument whose passage will give way to the publication of CARA, the County Allocation of Revenue Bill. Another critical financial instrument before the House is the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill. This is a Senate Bill number 3 of 2023, which seeks to unlock funds under the Equalization Fund. And members will know that it took us almost close to 10 years to reach and strike a deal on this matter of Equalization Fund. And for the Senate to be at this point now where we are considering this particular bill is great, Mr. Speaker. And I hope today, after we are done with the division of the Division of Revenue, we shall quickly move on, Mr. Speaker, to consider the Equalization Fund bill. Members can debate on it, and eventually, if possible, and members hang around a little bit longer, Mr. Speaker, we shall be able to conclude business on that particular bill, which as I have indicated on the statement, it is a critical financial instrument, Mr. Speaker. For this reason, I cannot overemphasize the importance of passage of these critical bills, Mr. Speaker. I therefore urge the party whips, the whip on the majority side, whip on the minority side, who's not here, but of course, Leader Mazayo is here, that we be present so that we conclude on these 2 very crucial bills this afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regards to petitions, the Senate has so far received 13 that have been committed to respective standing committees pursuant to Standing Order number 238. 5 petitions are due for reporting by the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing, Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, Labor and Social Welfare, Justice and Legal Affairs, respectively. I urge the aforesaid standing committees to expedite consideration of these 5 petitions and table the reports thereon. I urge other standing committees to process the petitions referred to them within 60-day period as per the provision of Standing Order number 238-2. Excuse me. Of course, we have said times without number, Mr. Speaker, that while 60 days is a ceiling, you don't have to wait up to the 60th day. If as a committee you're diligent enough and you conclude on a petition, the earlier, the better. Kenyans feel better served by this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, statements are increasingly being sought pursuant to Standing Order number 53 and other issued pursuant to Standing Order number 52. I urge the various standing committees to promptly consider the statements and report back to the House with mechanisms provided under our standing orders. Several questions, Mr. Speaker, have been filed and approved by the Speaker and subsequently have been conveyed to the respective Cabinet Secretary. At its meeting held on Tuesday, the 18th of April, 2023, the SBC approved the first set of questions to appear in the order paper for Wednesday, the 26th of April, 2023, in the morning sitting. The summary of the questions and Cabinet Secretaries to appear on the day as follows. Question number 1 by Senator Dr. Leleguel Tumbesi to the Cabinet Secretary of Interior and National Administration to respond on the state of security and resettlement of displaced persons in Samburu County. Question number 2 by Senator Fatuma Dulo to the Cabinet Secretary for Lands, Public Works and Housing and Urban Development to respond on disparity in compensation to the residents of Nuno, Modogashe and Isiolo, who are affected by the Africa Gateway Project. Number 3, statement by Fatuma Dulo to the Cabinet Secretary of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs to respond and lifting of moratorium on the issuance of mineral mining rights. Mr. Speaker, very important statements. I know there are people who have interest in mining in this House, and I have seen them occasionally come to me and say, what can we do to unlock this blanket ban? We'll be listening to the Cabinet Secretary on that day. There are many counties. Kisii is one such example in my own county of Kericho, and so many counties, Mr. Speaker, Makueni, that have interest in mining. And this is a very important question that has been brought by Senator Fatuma Dulo. Senator Veronica Maina to the Cabinet Secretary of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime to respond on exploration of offshore gas and oil. Then Senator Veronica Maina also to the Cabinet Secretary still on Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs to respond on the exploration of maritime produce and participation of local fishermen in the maritime exclusive economic zone. Mr. Speaker, those are questions that have been filed by members. There are others which subsequently we shall file before the committee. I urge honorable senators whose questions will be scheduled to appear to avail themselves in the chamber to prosecute the same. Appreciating that this will be the first time the Senate will implement the provisions for Standing Order 51A to D, I urge all the honorable senators to familiarize themselves with the standing orders and guidelines issued by the Speaker on the processing of questions. Mr. Speaker, perhaps maybe what you could do, and this is to our Secretariat, is that on the Tuesday, the 25th, we could actually still avail either hard copy or soft copy of the Speaker's rules on appearance of Cabinet Secretaries so that we can guide our colleagues on how to conduct that particular business, especially given that it will be the first time that Cabinet Secretaries will be appearing before the House. On Tuesday, the 25th April, Mr. Speaker, the Senate Business Committee will consider and approve business of the day. This will contain business that will not have been concluded from today's order paper and any other business scheduled by the SBC. The order paper for Wednesday 26th and for Thursday 27th will contain business that will not be concluded on Tuesday 25th April 2023 and on Wednesday 26th April 2023. The SBC will also schedule any other business pursuant to the standing orders. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and hereby lay the statement on the table of the Senate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Before we move to the next order, 3 statements by Senator Hamida Kibwana had been dropped because when they were called out, the senator was not in the chamber. However, the honorable senator has approached me. She has explained why she was not in the chamber when those 3 statements were called out. Indeed, she was held up in a parliamentary business, and for that reason, I will direct that the 3 statements by Senator Hamida Kibwana be reinstated in today's order paper and allow her to proceed to prosecute her statements. Senator Kibwana, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you very much for the consideration. And sorry for the inconvenience.
What is the point of order?
I would have not wished to...
Just have your seat, Senator.
I would not have wished to disrupt my sister, Senator Hamida, but I'm looking at the standing orders, Mr. Speaker. Senator Richard Onyonka is a seasoned member of this Senate, Mr. Speaker, and he has stood between me and you and has crossed over the floor twice. I thought the first time it was a mistake. but he crossed over from there, then he went back, and I think that is grossly out of order.
Senator, indeed, that act made you to be out of order. I'm going to proceed to caution you for the day. Any other opportunity you'll have where you'll be out of order, you know the consequences. Kindly, Senator Kibwana, proceed. What is the point of order, and what standing order are you standing?
I'm referring, Mr. Speaker, to your rules, the Speaker's rule number 5.
Yes.
The last time I was here, you referred to a counter suit as a suit that has a button to the neck. I'm looking at, again, the person that you have cautioned, and I think he's not properly dressed. He's now dressing now.
Senator Metho, the senator for Kisii is properly dressed. Senator Hamida, kindly proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'll proceed with the statements. The first statement is on Mukumu girls. Urgent action in ensuring health and safety in all our schools following the tragedy of Mukumu Girls High School. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52.1 to make a statement, a matter of national concern, namely a call for urgent action in ensuring health and safety in all our schools following the tragedy at Mukumu Girls High School. Mr. Speaker, I stand before you today with a heavy heart, deeply saddened and concerned by the tragic events that had transpired at Mukumu Girls High School. This devastating incident had led to the loss of 4 innocent lives following the infection of scores of students from alleged contaminated food and water. We send our heartfelt sympathies to the families and loved ones of the students affected by this tragedy during this difficult time. Mr. Speaker, following discussions between the two schools, the Ministry of Education and the county government, the closure of Mukumu Girls High School and dissolution of board was deemed essential in the wake of this situation. This is simply a short-term solution. Nevertheless, we must take immediate action as community leaders and representatives to guarantee the long-lasting improvements are done to offer a secure learning environment for all pupils. Mr. Speaker, over the past few weeks, many students have been admitted to hospitals due to the symptoms like nausea, dizziness, and diarrhea. Health officials initially suspected a cholera outbreak when 124 children from the Kakamega County School were hospitalized at the Kakamega County General Teaching and Referral Hospital in the late March. Fortunately, tests revealed that cholera was not present, although food poisoning was still a risk. Mr. Speaker, this incident at Mukumu Girls High School is not the first of its kind. According to reports, a similar tragedy claimed the lives of 2 children at the same school in 2022. The fact that these outbreaks continue occurring shows that immediate action is required to address the underlying issues. Mr. Speaker, in order to ensure that our kids can pursue their education without jeopardizing their health or safety, we must work together. I urge a comprehensive and open inquiry of these instances, both recent and historic, as well as prompt implementation of the suggestions provided by quality assurance officers following the tragedy of 2022. Mr. Speaker, sir, I implore the Ministry of Education, the county government, and the school administration to work together in addressing this issue and implementing the necessary improvements to safeguard the health of our students. This includes regular inspections of food and water sources, stricter hygiene standards, and the establishment of a system to monitor and report potential hazards. Mr. Speaker, sir, further, it is essential that we provide adequate resources and support to schools, equally in rural areas, to ensure that they have the necessary infrastructure and facilities to maintain high standards of cleanliness and safety. This includes access to clean water, proper sanitation facilities, and well-maintained kitchens and dining areas. Mr. Speaker, sir, education is fundamental right for every child, and it is our duty as leaders and representatives to create a safe and conducive environment for learning. We must also work to raise awareness among students, staff, and parents about the importance of maintaining proper hygiene and reporting any signs of illness or potential hazards. Mr. Speaker, sir, in conclusion, the tragic events at Mukumu Girls High School serve as a sobering reminder of the critical need to address our children's health and safety in schools across the nation. It is our obligation to make sure that every child has the opportunity to grow and learn in a safe setting, free and the fear of illness or harm. Mr. Speaker, sir, let us rally together, committed to ensuring the safety of our children, and fight tireless to bring about long-lasting improvements that will help future generations, that will benefit generations to come. I thank you. I will proceed with the second statement. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to bring to attention the election of officials of the Women's Caucus, Kenya, Women Senators Association, KEWOSA. Mr. Speaker, the following senators were duly elected. I, as yours truly, the chairperson of KEWOSA. Number 2, Deputy Chairperson, Senator Tabitha Mutinda. Secretary, Senator Beth Siengo. Treasurer, Senator Mariam Omar. And the 5th, as organizing secretary, Senator Esther Okenyuri. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is at most pleasure to address this esteemed House and congratulate each one of these incredible women leaders. As we embark on this journey together, I want to emphasize to our priority areas that will guide our work as a caucus. Mr. Speaker, women's rights and empowerment are essential to achieving social justice, economic prosperity, and political stability. This association has a unique opportunity to make a difference in the lives of women and vulnerable groups across our great country. We will work to promote women's participation in political and public life, to increase women's and vulnerable groups' representation in decision-making positions, and to support women's as well as vulnerable groups' economic and social empowerment. We will work tirelessly to ensure that these issues remain at the forefront of our national agenda. Mr. Speaker, sir, water security is a critical issue in Kenya, with many communities facing challenges such as water scarcity, pollution, and inadequate infrastructure to support water supply and sanitation services. To address this issue, KEWOSA seeks to promote water security in several ways, including advocating for policies and legislation that promote water security, support women, vulnerable groups, and other stakeholders in helping them to improve their knowledge and skills in areas such as water management and conservation, leverage resources and expertise to improve water security, educating communities on the impact of pollution on water resources, and promoting the use of sustainable water management practices. Mr. Speaker, sir, KEWOSA as a key stakeholder in the health sector has a critical role to play in initial and advocating for health policies that prioritize the needs and well-being of women and vulnerable groups. To effectively initiate health policies, we will engage in various activities such as conducting research in women's health issues, analyzing health data, and identifying gaps and opportunities for policy interventions. Mr. Speaker, sir, for security, food security is a fundamental issue in Kenya, with many families struggling to access sufficient and nutritious food. To address this issue, the association will work to promote food security in several ways. We will introduce policies and legislation that promote food security, for example, on increased funding for agriculture, improved infrastructure to support food production and distribution, as well as to initiate measures to address climate change and its impact on food production. We shall also support youth, women farmers, and other stakeholders in the agriculture sector by providing training and capacity building programs to help them improve their agriculture practices, increase their yields and enhance their incomes, build partnerships with local and international organizations to support initiatives such as the establishment of community gardens in informal settlements and the distribution of food aid to vulnerable families. Mr. Speaker, sir, KEWOSA recognizes the importance of gender-inclusive policies that address the specific needs and challenges faced by women and vulnerable groups in different regions and communities. To this end, we will strive to ensure that the 2/3 gender principle is fully realized. We admit that there is need to create a more enabling environment for women's political participation, including addressing the cultural and structural barriers that limit women's access to political power. Mr. Speaker, we will advocate for the development and implementation of gender-sensitive policies across all sectors. We acknowledge the critical importance of a gender-sensitive budget-making process in advancing women's and vulnerable groups' rights and empowerment. We will work to ensure that the national and county budgets reflect the needs and priorities of women and vulnerable groups across the country. As a chairperson, I pledge to work closely with all legislators to promote the interests and well-being of women and vulnerable groups in Kenya. We will strive to build a strong and effective association that advocates for gender equality, women and vulnerable groups empowerment, and the realization of women's and vulnerable groups' rights. Mr. Speaker, sir, we will engage with government agencies, the Kenya Women Parliamentarians Association, KEWOPA, civil society organizations, and international partners to build partnership and leverage resources. We will seek to promote public awareness and education on women and vulnerable groups issues and foster a culture of respect, tolerance, and inclusiveness. Finally, I believe that our strength as a caucus lies in our diversity as well as your guidance and support. Mr. Speaker, I am committed to ensuring that each of our voices is heard and valued. Together, we can make a significant impact in advancing women's and vulnerable groups' rights, and I am excited to lead us forward on this journey. As I conclude, I am delighted about the opportunities and challenges ahead, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you, honorable senators, to advance the cause of women in Kenya. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. The last but not the least, it's a short statement, Mr. Speaker, on dental and optical healthcare treatment for Kenyans on the national NHIF cover. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding dental and optical health care treatment for Kenyans on the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF cover. In the statement, the committee should explain why the NHIF excludes a section of its registered members from accessing dental and optical health care from the NHIF cover, and state plans if any, put in place by the Ministry of Health to ensure all Kenyans registered with the NHIF get access to dental and optical health care treatment through the NHIF cover. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator, proceed to make your statement pursuant to Standing Order 53-1. You have a statement to...
I've done all the three.
You've done all the three? Now, honorable senators, I will allow comments on her statement pursuant to Standing Order 53-1. The first two statements that have been made under Standing Order 52 are statements of general topical concern, and they do not, under our standing orders, attract comments. So the senators I'm seeing on the dashboard, please restrict your comments on the third statement by the honorable senator. Senator Manzo Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate your direction and the good understanding of the standing orders and the matter which has been presented by Senator Amida, who has been very thorough on the Nintendo issue. Mr. Speaker, that has tended to be left out when it comes to insurance, when it comes to children, when it comes to implementation. And a lot of times, young people, especially children, suffer, on Nintendo issues, especially after the first set of teeth is gone during the second one. And that determines how that person looks in terms of the dental development the rest of their lives. And if they don't get good care in proper hospitals and with the proper insurance, then they may end up even, looking differently or having missy teeth and without monies to replace, or it be difficult. So the world over is encouraging people to, to repair teeth instead of removing them, which has been a practice. And I think through the medical profession, they have managed to get it right in that. And a lot of populace have not yet learned that particular practice, but a lot of practitioners will discourage, the removal of teeth as it were previously, but insist on repair so that it can be maintained using modern technology. But again, it's a matter, Mr. Speaker, which has to be relooked at and health be devolved. Not many hospitals have a full capacity. And finally, we don't train, as a country, we don't seem to train enough dentists in this particular field. So we want to encourage the scholars, the new, people go to university now, also to study dentistry so that we can have enough dentists for our country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kathuri.
Honorable Speaker, you made a ruling, but I didn't want them to congratulate the gracious dentists upon after the elections. KEWOSA, Kenya Women Senators Association, is a good thing, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker,
Senator,
if you can indulge me 1 minute.
The chamber, but for now, just proceed to restrict your comments.
Because I wanted to see whether you can start Woma. and Mr. Speaker, I wanted to propose also we come up with the Kenya Men Senators Association. Because the groups she is targeting as the chair and does not include men. It's women affairs and other vulnerable groups. So I thought we can start our association with Oburu Ondinga as our chairman. And then also this young senator, Senator Medu, to be his secretary. So that now we can start also planning our things, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Senator Olekina.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I rise to support the statement by Senator Hamida on the mysterious disease in Kakamega County that has forced two schools.
Honorable Senator, I've directed how we should.
I requested that, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, but look at your standing orders. The only statements that attract comments from senators are statements made pursuant to Standing Order 53. The
That's it.
statement.
That's 53-1, Mr.
No,
Speaker.
it's not. That statement touching on Mukumu girls was made under Standing Order 52-1. No. It's 52-1. Yeah. So restrict yourself to dental matters.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, I thank you. Thank you for
And maybe as
correcting.
you're talking dental,
Thank you for correcting.
you can couch your statements to
I'll
slide.
find a way to navigate myself
Proceed.
through the
I don't
very
need to teach
interesting-
you. I don't need to teach you to do it.
Mr. Speaker,
Proceed.
I rise to support this very important statement that has been raised in terms of discrimination of services that are offered by NHIF to its members. Mr. Speaker, in Kakamega County, the levels of fluorides in water is of great concern. In fact, if you look at most people, not only Kakamega, but also part of Narok, you'll see a lot of people whose teeth are yellow because of fluoride content in water. Mr. Speaker, in Kakamega County, the exploration of minerals in that county is quite high. And the level of toxicity and minerals in water is something which should worry this country. It is above international standards. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm a member of the Health Committee, and I hope that when we'll be looking at this, we can dip further, and I would hope that the committee would investigate further on whether the Ministry of Health, and also to a greater extent to the National Intelligence Service, has got a topographic and also details on the metals that exist underneath that should concern this country. We see a lot of mysterious diseases. Your teeth can be discolored to a point where when you try to bite some meat, those teeth disappear because of the issue of discoloration of your water, because of the water. Water in this country is something that most of us do not really look into, but it's something which should become a concern. We have turned this country into a country that depends on pesticides. We have moved away from organic matters. So all these agricultural activities on a daily basis, Mr. Speaker, end up, you know, whenever you spread, or rather fertilizers, or you spread pesticides in our agricultural, in our agricultural land, there's a lot of seepage of toxicity that infects and also actually destroy our water sources. So, Mr. Speaker, I hope that the committee can be able to tell us, why is it that NHIF decided that we cannot cover, dental? Is it because there's a high concentration of arsenic metals in our water? Is it because the HP, or rather the pH level of our water is something where it cannot be controlled, or is it because it is going to be very expensive? Because I would expect that in any public institution, such as a school, like the one in Kakamega, for instance, Mr. Speaker, before students would be allowed to drink that water, at least invest a little bit on a reverse
What is the point
osmosis
of order,
system.
Senator Osotsi?
Mr. Speaker, I'm just concerned that my good friend and the whip, minority whip, is making references to Kakamega, which is my neighboring county, as the only county that has problems with dental and optical issues. I'm concerned because this is a national problem. It's not limited to Kakamega only, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Ledama, the chair is aware of what you're trying to do. Kindly restrict yourself to the statement, the third statement by Honorable Hamida. Let your comments be restricted to that.
Mr. Speaker, I'll be guided. but I just want to tell my chair of PEAK that it is a fact that the high level of minerals in Kakamega County is something which should concern this country, especially when it comes to the issue of water. And this water, Mr. Speaker, is the one that ends up discoloring teeth, such that NHIF is seeing as if it is going to be such a huge burden to be able to cover. So, Mr. Speaker, although I really wanted, I wanted to really comment on this issue of Mukumu girls that now you've told me that I cannot comment on because it was a general statement. I hope that at least we can be able to interrogate this issue, and to a great extent. And I want to invite the intelligence service at least to guide us in this country so that we can be able, the problem is this. And let me speak for myself and maybe now to my brother's county, Kakamega. Because of our level of poverty and because of lack of resources in this country, we end up drinking
Senator
waters.
Enoch, what is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I rise on Standing Order 120 on issues of relevance. The Speaker, clearly the whip is struggling to drive home a point. The Speaker, just to refresh his mind, the statement sought by Senator Hamida, which he's supposed to be commenting on under Standing Order 53, is about NHIF and the fact that they are not covering dental health. I don't know where the issues of DCI come in, mineral exploration. Mr. Speaker, can you beat the Senator back to order, please?
Senator Ledama, indeed you're out of order. Kindly confine yourself and conclude your comments on the third statement.
Mr. Speaker, as I conclude my third statement, my dear brother should take judicial notice that the National Intelligence Services is not just for rumor mongering or anything, but it's for them to be able to advance this country on what is available in this country, whether it is good or
Senator
bad.
Ledama,
As I conclude,
what is the relevance?
The relevance
of this
Mr.
on
Speaker,
NHIF
yes,
and they too?
I'll be more than happy to qualify my statement, Mr. Speaker, on the relevance.
Just conclude.
The relevance is on the issue of water. The quality of water that we consume in this country is what discolors teeth, and that is why NHIF, I'm just saying, and hypothetically, Mr. Speaker, when you give us time to be able to comment on this statement, we either seek clarification from the sponsoring senator, or we seek more interrogation of other areas by the committee. So, Mr. Speaker, as I prosecute that last point, so that because now you've denied me an opportunity.
Just conclude.
As I conclude,
because clearly you're
I
struggling.
would like the committee to investigate the reasons why NHIF has decided to limit the services that their members get, yet we pay a lot of money. Is it because of bad water, or what is it because of it? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Tabitha.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for giving me this opportunity. I'm only surprised to see a senator that has been in this house, a senator that has admired all this time to come into this house and copy him, talking on an issue that he doesn't know how serious it is, that when I'm seated there, coming from Nakuru County, I feel like crying. Thank you, Senator Hamida, for bringing this motion, because Nakuru County is one of the counties that has been affected by the water. I'm only lucky that I came to Naivasha. I'm only lucky that I came to Naivasha when I had just finished my school. Otherwise, I'm sure I could not be having the teeth that I have. All the people that come from Naivasha, all their teeth are brown. They are all brown. So when you talk of the Kakamega and you're next to a Kakamega senator there, whose teeth can be sold to Naivasha, or it's here. So, in short, thank you, Hamida. We in Naivasha, the people of Nakuru, the Naivasha people, use 3/4 of their salary to maintain their children's teeth. And I know that prevention is better than cure. What Senator Hamida has brought on the floor of the House, thank you so much, Senator Hamida, but we should incorporate in that your proposal, your suggestion, to ensure that we do prevention in this country. Because the water left for our people to drink, it is very well known that it will damage the teeth of our children. I'm very lucky that I ran a brewery, and now I understand how this water needs to be treated. I know we built a plant that has, produced the best water in this country. What does that tell? The Kenya government just needs to ensure that the water that our people drink meets the international standard. And the only thing they need to put is put up reverse osmosis equipment to ensure that that fluoride, it is taken care of, so that any time that our people are taking water is guaranteed. Just be you're lucky that you never settle in Naivasha, and the young senators like Eddie to settle in Naivasha and marry there, because half of your salary you'll be using on maintaining the teeth. So who will come and save the Naivasha people? Who will come and save the Nakuru people? Because we need this government of ours to ensure that not only the NHIF Hamida is talking about, but to ensure they can put plants. If they know the water, the mineral, because I didn't choose to be born in Naivasha or brought up in Naivasha. I didn't choose. I just found myself there. So it's the government of Kenya needs to take care to ensure that they can take care and put the right equipment, the reverse osmosis. And I'm talking of a very serious issue.
Senator,
when the Naivasha people are seeing you laughing.
Senator, kindly conclude your comments.
I'm concluding now. So as I support the Hamida's proposal to ensure that the dentists, whatever is taken care by the NHIF, we also push the government to ensure that the people that are born in the more fluoride area, prone area, to ensure that they put the right machines, the reverse osmosis, to ensure that the water they drink is safe for our children. Asante, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. But I will not forgive Senator Narok because he's joked with something that he doesn't understand about it. The Maasai's green teeth travel Naivasha so that you pity us. So that when you come here, you'll be talking of how we need to save our people.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you.
The 15 minutes meant for comments on that statement is long spent. Before we move to the next business, honorable senators, allow me to make the following communications. Honorable senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon a visiting delegation from the National Assembly of Zambia. The delegation is in the Senate for a benchmarking visit. I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. Ms. Mambwe Kaoma, Senior Legal Officer. Mr. Stanley Banda, Legal Officer. Honorable Senators, on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome and wish you a fruitful visit. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation of members of staff from various county assemblies currently undertaking a training at the Center for Parliamentary Studies. Honorable Senators, I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. Mr. George Kibisu Odemo, Principal Sergeant at Arms, Vihiga County. Mr. Frederick Onyango Okuta, Security Warden here in Parliament. Ms. Abigail Mwikali Mulei, Sergeant at Arms, Machakos. Mr. Joseph Mwangi, Security Warden, Parliament. Mr. Masheti Godfrey Alulu, Sergeant at Arms Vihiga. Mr. Samson Katana Kahindi, Sergeant at Arms Kilifi. Mr. Wadere Shaban Haida, Sergeant at Arms Mandera. Mr. Elijah Koi Mwambire, Sergeant at Arms Kilifi. Ms. Clara Damakombe, Sergeant at Arms Kilifi. Mr. Francis Lemos Mocorino, Senior Security Officer Laikipia. Ms. Monica Nyambura Mbote, Security Warden Laikipia. Mr. Harrison Prandi Parosoroi, Security Warden Laikipia. Mr. Daniel M. Ndambuki, Sergeant at Arms Machakos. Mr. George Makoha, Sergeant at Arms Vihiga. Mr. Erastus Mutua, Sergeant at Arms Machakos. Ms. Martha Zawadi Nyundo, Sergeant at Arms Kilifi. Mr. John Vidolo Mandegwa, Deputy Sergeant at Arms Vihiga. Mr. Siad Hussein Hassan, Sergeant at Arms Mandera. Mr. Kathuku Mukonza, Security Parliament. Ms. Janet Monica Manasse, Sergeant at Arms Vihiga. Ms. Mildred Nanjala Walumbe, Security Warden Parliament. Ms. Dorothy Munesimbayi, Security Warden Parliament. Ms. Sarah Chepkorir, Sergeant at Arms Kericho. Mr. Chepkemoi Mutai, Sergeant at Arms Kericho. Mr. Ruben Kipgetich Kirui, Sergeant at Arms Kericho. And Ms. Alice Ndombi, HR Officer Bungoma. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome and wish you a fruitful visit. The last communication. In the public gallery this afternoon, we have 83 students accompanied by 5 teachers from St. Mary's Nyamagwa Girls High School in Kisii County who are in the Senate on an education tour. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Honorable Senators, I will allow the majority leader, and I thought I saw the minority leader in the House. So the deputy minority leader, the senator for Kisii, the 3 senators to make very brief welcoming remarks. In that order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. This is part of a very beautiful tradition of this House, where on each afternoon we receive visiting delegations from different parts of the world, different parts of the country. Mr. Speaker, I'll begin with a distinguished delegation from the Parliament of Zambia. Mr. Speaker, Zambia has been a prominent part of discussions in this House this week, and I wish they had been here to listen to the contributions of many of us who stood here to celebrate their success in agriculture and the need for us as a country to emulate them in many of their practices, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know that Zambia, as a country, continues to engage at an equal level with the Parliament of Kenya on so many fronts. During my time at Parliamentary Service Commission, Mr. Speaker, we received visiting delegations from the Parliament of Zambia, almost 2 or 3 delegations each year on different fronts, either staff or members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I wish them well during the duration of their stay here. If they get an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, let them, though a politician, what I love Zambia most for, Mr. Speaker, is a football icon that I grew up watching, one Kalisha Bwalia. I think right now he serves as the president of their football federation. If you know him in person, tell him Africans who follow African football celebrate him up to date. Having achieved, Mr. Speaker, I don't know if you know this, the feat of being the only African up to date who has been ranked as a competitor for the global FIFA Men's Player of the Year while playing for a non-European club, Mr. Speaker. That tells you how good that gentleman was, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also appreciate the visiting delegation from our county assemblies who are on a study of CPST. I served on the board of CPST for 5 good years, Mr. Speaker, and I know the impact that this institution continues to have both in our parliament and in our county assemblies, Mr. Speaker, where various county assemblies send either their members or their staffers to come interact and learn. We developed many courses, Mr. Speaker, over the course of the last 5 years that continue to enrich and empower our staffers and our county assemblies, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in fact, and I say this as a majority leader, that I wish we as Senate, sometimes instead of planning these trips that we plan out of the country to go and be trained by IAPI, I don't know by which other agency, will take time to listen to the good trainings of CPST, Mr. Speaker. I've gone through some of their trainings and also gone through some of these trainings that we seek outside the country. And I can say that those from the CPST are far way too superior, Mr. Speaker, than what we seek outside of the country. So I assure the team from the various county assemblies that is here with us that you made the right choice coming to CPST, Mr. Speaker. I continue to be an ambassador of that institution because I know the transformational work that they do in our various parliaments, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, of course, Mr. Speaker, is the students who are visiting with us this afternoon. I celebrate them too. I know what it means as a speaker, Mr. Speaker, as a student, to sit down and watch the deliberations in this parliament. Each time when we have students and you walk out later as a senator to greet them, they appreciate the kind of debate they see in this house and it challenges them. The only thing that I speak to the students, Mr. Speaker, is to ask them to dream and dream big, not to be limited in their dreams, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. And the Speaker, you may need to remind the Senator of Meru that he's not on the chair. He is trying to give me instructions. The Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to also join you and our leader, the majority leader, in welcoming the delegations that have visited the Senate this afternoon. The delegation from Zambia. The Speaker, it is true what my leader has said, that the relations between Kenya and Zambia have a long history. But it's also true that lately, Mr. Speaker, there has been a conversation around that relationship recently on the issue of agriculture when it comes to maize. And I'm very sure that issue will be resolved very soon. For the delegation from the different counties that have paid a visit to the Senate, I want to, on behalf of the minority side, to welcome you to the Senate and just tell them, Mr. Speaker, that the choice to come to the Senate is a good choice. It's an opportunity for them to benchmark and do what we call transfer best practices back to their counties. For the students, I also want to take this opportunity as Speaker to join you and join the majority side to welcome them to this house. I once visited the National Assembly then when I was a small boy in primary school, and I was very, very inspired to see leaders debating on the floor of the House. And today, I am here debating on the floor of the Senate, and for the students visiting here today, tomorrow is their day. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to, in the normal tradition of parliamentary behavior, go on to support and endorse what my colleagues have said. For our brothers from Zambia, if you look carefully and see the way I'm dressed, you can see that I'm looking like Kenneth Kaunda. And most Kenyans may not know that the Kaunda suit is actually an outfit that President Kaunda picked from the Chinese, and we did an African thing to it. I'm very also proud that, Mr. Speaker, in my background politically and historically, that I happen to have involved with a Zambian family called Dr. Chitepa, who was working at Nairobi Hospital for many, many years because he went to school in the US with my father. I share that history, and it's a wonderful history. For the team that is from the county governments that have come here for training, and I wanted to support the leader of majority, the CPST training is actually one of the best we have. And Mr. Speaker, I am really, really happy to hear my leader, Honorable Cheriot, say that we really don't need to have many of these trainings that we go Some people go to Brazil, others are going to Latin America just to be trained on what to do here. I believe that the training that this team is getting is substantive, and I wish you all well, and I hope that from where you are, you'll be able to make our county governments functional and successful. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I would like to tell you that I come from a county that is very interesting, and that is Kisii County, and the students you see. St. Mary's Nyamagwa is a Catholic school that has got a huge and big history in Kisii. The students who are here, I am very proud to see all of you and your teachers. I am hoping that I will see you before you leave when we have left the chamber. And I am hoping that my friend and brother, Honorable Cherargei, will be buying you a cup of tea as I buy you the mandazis. And you know a gentleman called Mr. Sifuna, who's the Secretary General of the most wonderful party in Africa. He will come and also buy you lollipops and cakes before you leave. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that it's a great honor. I thank the teaching fraternity for being the guardians and being the team that will bring these children and will make sure that they come here safely and they head back to Kisii safely. As you leave, I wish you a safe journey and make sure that in the near future you will come back here so that you keep on advancing and teaching yourselves to become great leaders of tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, can you kindly take your seats? Majority Leader, Senator Manzo, kindly, I need to make a further communication. Honorable Senators, in the public gallery this afternoon, we have 180 students, accompanied by 2 teachers from Baricho Secondary School in Kirinyaga County, who are in the Senate on an education tour. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator for Kirinyaga. In that case, I will allow the Majority Leader to make very brief. This is not a moment to make long speeches like I've just witnessed. Brief, welcoming remarks.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I was a bit distracted, but I want to join you in welcoming the visiting team from Kirinyaga, who are in the Senate on a study tour. I want to appreciate, Mr. Speaker, that we went through a time, Mr. Speaker, at the advent of COVID, where we hardly had, we actually didn't allow visitors to come into this house, and that's a time we appreciated how lonely an afternoon it can be to stay without visitors. So we don't take it for granted, and we never tire in celebrating when visitors come to join in and visit with us. So to the team from Kirinyaga, I welcome you on behalf of your Senator Murango. Unfortunately, has a child who has been taken ill and therefore couldn't be with us this afternoon, but continues to distinguish himself as an able representative of the people of Kirinyaga. So on behalf of Senator Murango and all the senators that are here, welcome to the Senate. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Senators, can we have some order? Senator Mundigi, just put your hand down. Senator Mundigi, as I make this communication, get hold of your standing orders and read standing order number 98 as I make this particular directive. Now, there is a statement that had been dropped, the statement by the Senator for Nairobi City County, Senator Edwin Sifuna, because when it was called out, the Honorable Senator was not in the chamber. However, the Honorable Senator has since approached the chair and explained the reason why he was not in the chamber when this particular statement was called out, which the chair found the reason valid. He was engaged together with other senators in the process of midwifing the formative and embryonic stages of the bipartisan talks. And for that reason, I will allow the reinstatement of that particular statement and allow the Honorable Senator to proceed. Honorable Senator, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for that indulgence. Mr. Speaker, this matter has caused me sleepless nights, and I thank you for allowing me to proceed. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labour and Social Welfare regarding the status of employment of the 700 inspectorate officers recruited during the tenure of the Nairobi Metropolitan Service in Nairobi City County. In this statement, the committee should, 1, apprise the Senate on the current employment status of former staff of the Nairobi Metropolitan Service inherited by Nairobi City County Government. Number 2, state measures, if any, put in place by the Nairobi City County Government to regularize the employment of the staffers in the case that they were irregularly hired, as has been alleged in some quarters. Number 3, explain why the 700 inspectorate officers have not been paid their wages since November 2022 to date, and state when the officers will receive their dues. And finally, Mr. Speaker, state whether there are plans by the Nairobi City County Government to hire replacements for those 700 inspectorate officers that have been released unceremoniously from service. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Senators, if you look at the clock, the statement hour has been overshot by 10 minutes. And therefore, I'm afraid I will not allow any comments on that particular statement. We await the report from the committee. Therefore, I will call upon the clerk to call the next order.
Order number 8, the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bills number 9 of 2023, second reading, division.
Sergeant at Arms, kindly proceed to ring the division bell for 3 minutes. Sergeant at Arms, kindly proceed to close the doors and draw the bar. Honorable Senators, can we have our seats so that we proceed to prosecute this business in the least time possible? Let's have our seat, Senators, please. Let us have our seats. Honorable Senators, I now proceed to put the question that the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bills number 9 of 2023, be now read a second time. Now, Honorable Senators, the voting is going to be done electronically, and therefore I'm asking all of you to log out. I'm also directing the Sergeant-at-Arms to pull out all cards remaining in the delegate units. You log out first. Yes. Just log out. Yes. So that the Sergeant-at-Arms can be able to pull out all cards that cannot be accounted for. After that is done, Honorable Senators, you can now proceed to log back into the delegate unit. You can now proceed to log back into the delegate unit and proceed to vote by pressing yes, no, or abstain, or you press the abstain button. Senators, proceed to vote. Honorable Senators, let us have our seats. Kindly let us take our seats. Honorable Senators, the results are as follows. Ayes 33, noes 0, abstentions 0. The ayes have it. Next order.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the equitable division of revenue raised nationally between the national and county governments in 2023-2024 financial year and for connected purposes.
And open the doors. Next order, clerk.
Order number 9, Committee of the Whole.
Yes, Kaini. Yes. Honorable Senators, Honorable Senators, Honorable Senators, can you have your seats? Can you have your seats, Honorable Senators? We are on the Committee of the Whole. On the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bills number 9 of 2023. And the sequence will be observed according to the Standing Order 151 of the Senate Standing Orders.
Clauses 3, 4, and 5.
I propose the question that clauses 3, 4, and 5 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 3, 4, and 5 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
The schedule.
I propose the question that the schedule be part of the bill. Always the move of the amendment.
Mr. Chair, I beg to move that the schedule of the division revenue bill be amended as indicated on the order paper.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the schedule be amended as proposed. I put the question that the schedule be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 2, the title, and clause 1.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that clause 2, the title, and clause 1 be part of the bill. I put the question that clause 2, the title, and clause 1 be part of the bill. Division at the end. Yeah, Honorable Senators, now we can go to the divisions.
So how many divisions do we have, Angela?
Sorry?
We want to go
the system.
System bado. So what is the first division? We can
The
just
schedule.
guide them that we'll
So
have.
we vote once.
Yeah, yeah.
Ama?
No, we'll have to vote. Like now there is an amendment. No, just relax. Yes. Order, then to
Order, Senators.
that the division bell be rang for how many minutes?
I request the division bell to be rung for 2 minutes. Honorable Senators, order. Let's start the voting now. Honorable Senators, draw the bars. Sergeant at arms, kindly draw the bar. The system is okay. How is the system? The system is fine.
It's fine. We are going to vote.
Can they also unlog in?
The first port of call is electronic. But there's a standing order.
The system is working on of senators.
Put the question. Put the question. Put the first question. Put the first question. By roll call, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable senators, I put the question that the schedule be amended as proposed. Yes, proceed and vote.
Ask them to vote, Mr. Speaker. The time is running.
Senators, just vote.
My friend, I know, but let me tell you. No, you vote it here because you need to log in.
I'll vote here manually. I'll vote manually. Huh? I'll vote manually. Now, senators, kindly assume your seats. Director Rugan does not vote. Just sit. You can't vote.
Ask about voting by voice, and I wasn't given that opportunity.
Andy, Senator Andy, can you have your seat?
But this is dictatorial, Mr. Chair.
Can you have your seat?
The world must know that you're denying the people money.
Can you move out of where I am, kindly? Yes. Give them to vote for the name. Yes. Which, the second one?
Yeah, so that we
Honorable Senators, I want to give the results of the division. The ayes have 9 votes, the noes 26 votes, abstention 0. So the noes have it. Let's go to the next question, next vote. I put the question that clauses 3, 4, and 5, the schedule as amended, clause 2, the title, and clause 1.
This one. Director, not as amended. It is now the schedule. So we put in this
Sorry.
one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Honorable Senators. Let me repeat the question. I put the question that clauses 3, 4, and 5, the schedule, clause 2, the title, and clause 1 be part of the bill. The system is ready. Go ahead and vote, Honorable Senators. Can you have your seats, Senators? How can you come and demand for letters from the desk here? Just have your seats, kindly.
Order during division.
We are on division, but you still need order, Senators. You know, this is a bipartisan issue, which you should both sense to. Can you just proceed and vote?
Let's finish.
Proceed and just finish up my clerk. There is a formula of all these things you're asking. Then, but have your seats. Have your seats. Have your seat, minority.
Okay, everybody should sit down. All of us should sit down.
Even I'm wondering, what are you doing here?
Which letter? I was the first one for the 26. Which indication was that?
Have your seats.
Just indicate your name in the usual manner.
Honorable Senators, now have your seat. Kindly.
Can we conclude, Mr. Speaker?
I want to give results of this vote. Honorable Senators, I now give results for the division. The ayes are 25, noes 3, abstention 6. The ayes have it.
What do you need? Is Mutinda to move. She's on the phone. Report. You report.
Where's the paper?
But she's on the phone.
Where's the paper so that you read?
She has it.
Ako nayo.
I'm calling the mover.
Proceed now.
Honorable Chair, I beg to move that the committee do report to the Senate its considerations of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2023, and its approval therefore without amendments.
Honorable Senators, I'll put the question, which is that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bills number 9 of 2023, and its approval thereof without amendments. I'm putting the question, Honorable Senators. As many as of the similar opinion say aye. Aye. As those of the contrary opinion say nay. Nay. The ayes have it. Resume your seats, Honorable Senators. Have your seats. Have your seats. Chairperson. Chairperson, Senator Sigei, approach the table. Chair, now you do the reporting. Chairperson, proceed.
Honorable Speaker,
Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole has considered the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bills number 9 of 2023, and its approval thereof without amendments. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report.
Mover. Mover, kindly.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I ask the Majority Leader to second.
Majority Leader.
I second.
Okay. Honorable Senators, I propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the same report. Honorable Senators, I put the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the same report. As many as of similar opinion say aye. Aye. As those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Move again.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2023, be now read at that time.
There is a seconder.
I do request the Majority Leader to second.
Yes,
Mr. Speaker, I second.
Leader. Honorable Senators, I propose the question, which is that the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bills number 9 of 2023, be now read at that time. Honorable Senators, I will put a question which is that the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bills number 9 of 2023 be now read at that time. Reading the division bill for 2 minutes. Okay, now Sergeant Adams, kindly roll the bus. And honorable senators, be prepared now to vote. Honorable senators, continue and vote. Senators. Honorable Senators, Senator Boni Karwale. Honorable Senators, I want to give results of the division. The ayes, 25 votes, nays, 0, abstention, 0. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the equitable division of revenue raised nationally between the national and county governments in 2023-2024 financial year and for connected purposes.
Yes, draw the bars, open the bars, Okay, clerk, next order.
Order number 10, the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2023, second reading. What's the division? Speakers? Speakers?
Senator Sigei. Honorable Senators, we are going to resumption of debate, which was interrupted on Wednesday, 19th April 2023, and Senator Boni Karwale was on the floor, and he has 15 minutes. And if you have nothing to hand, then we can go to the next. Yes, Senator Boni Karwale.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Equalization Fund speaks to the bottom of my heart. And as I was saying yesterday, the spirit of Article 204 was to address the sad pictures, the sad footage, Mr. Speaker, that we witness every year from Turkana, from Garissa, from Wajir, from Mandera, sections of Kitui, in general, the arid and semi-arid areas, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that with the billions in Equalization Fund, little children in those areas in Turkana have to come from school and walk kilometers upon kilometers looking for water. It is actually a condemnation of this Senate. We must make sure that equalization funds reach these regions so that children have water, there is electricity, Mr. Speaker, that children have access and mothers have access to health care and proper roads. Mr. Speaker, as I make this condemnation, I remember the attitude of the National Treasury. The National Treasury appears to lean towards the national government. The future of this country is to make the National Treasury an independent institution that will be sitting in the middle to address our concerns when we say money should go to counties, it be seen to go. Mr. Speaker, the fact that counties have not received disbursements for the last 3 years invites us to be even more robust, more aggressive in demanding that the National Treasury releases money to our counties. Mr. Speaker, maybe if the National Treasury was independent, the money that is released in whatever portions to the national government would be being released to the county governments. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak to the contribution of inequality to the insecurity and poor health services that we see in arid and semi-arid areas. I can assure you, the fights for resources, specifically water, amongst pasturists up north, was intended to be addressed by the Equalization Fund. Mr. Speaker, we should vehemently refuse any attempt to delay the 1/2 of the audited accounts that is called Equalization Fund that is supposed to go to these people, Mr. Speaker. What is more, Mr. Speaker? Medical people, nurses, paramedics, clinical officers, doctors don't want to go and work in those places. So, we still have a situation in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, where an 18-year-old girl carrying a normal pregnancy loses her life because there was no medical personnel to midwife her delivery. Equalization funds must be released. In the meantime, as we wait for the perfect situation, we still have an opportunity. I want to call upon my medical colleagues who work in the military, nurses who work in the military, clinical officers, all manner of paramedical staff who work in the military to happily go and serve in those health institutions with the kind of security training that they enjoy. Finally, Mr. Speaker, in support of this Equalization Fund, I would like to call out the following counties: the county of Kakamega, the county of Nakuru, the county of Mombasa, the county of Nairobi, and the county of Machakos. Mr. Speaker, these big six governors must stop sleeping, stop waiting for shareable revenue. They should collect their own money from own source. It's a fact, Mr. Speaker, that Nairobi has the capacity to collect 68 billion shillings from own source, meaning they should not be coming here to scramble for the 19-20 billion that they get from shareable revenue. They just have to collect the 68. Then if they did, this statement that was raised this afternoon by the Senator of Nairobi would not be a necessity at all. They would not be sacking those 700 employees of the inspectorate. They are sacking them, Kenyans who have jobs given by NMS, they have families, they have children in school, they have bills to meet, they are being sacked simply because there isn't enough money to pay them. And yet, the county government of Nairobi can collect 68 billion shillings. Kakamega can collect more. Machakos can collect more. Mombasa can collect more. Nakuru can collect more. Kiambu can collect more. They should go and collect that money instead of scrambling here for the shareable revenue. Mr. Speaker, I rest my case and strongly support Equalization Fund bill.
Thank you, Honorable Senator Boni Halwale. I have a communication from the chair on visiting students from the University Students Association in Homa Bay County. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon visiting students from the University Students Association, Homa Bay County. The delegation comprises 21 students who are in the Senate for a one-day academic exposition. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I thank you. And I note, honorable members, that the Senator for Homa Bay is not in the House. I would allow Senator Tobiko Pesi Peris to welcome them as you also contribute to the motion that is before us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity to welcome the university students from Homa Bay University to the Senate and encourage them that this is one of the high institutions of the country that their education can bring them to, both the Senate and the National Assembly, and all other spheres of leadership in our country and all other professions, Mr. Speaker. And so I want to tell them to feel most welcomed in the Senate, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for this opportunity. Yesterday, until the close of business, Mr. Speaker, I waited to contribute to this debate of the Equalization Fund, Mr. Speaker, and I'm glad today and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to it, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill 2023 is long overdue, Mr. Speaker, and so I rise to support the passage of this bill and an immediate implementation of the same once it goes through the rigors of the normal bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for a long time, after the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, Kenyans from those marginalized areas were excited that finally there seems to be a fund that is going to be an affirmative action fund to address the historical injustices, to address the low levels of development in such areas, Mr. Speaker. But it is surprising that the National Treasury has always found reason, excuses to not implement this fund, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it has been a game of musical chairs. In Treasury, one reason or another, sometimes it's constituencies, the next time it is wards, the next time it is sublocations, CRA finding different parameters every day to apply and to get reason for extension of time not to implement this fund until the expiry of its time, because there was a closure of this fund in terms of, as allowed by the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, today, if we either make sure that Treasury releases money in bulk, which was meant for these marginalized areas for the last 10 years, or extend the time for the operationalization of the Equalization Fund, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the now sitting governor of Samburu, His Excellency Lelelit, because in the 11th, I think it was in the 11th Parliament, that he is the one who tried to bring into operationalization the Equalization Bill and brought the issue of areas that now finally has been accepted by CRA to be used as, parameters for allocation of this fund. And this has enabled many more areas to be covered than it would have been covered when it was originally in terms of counties. I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, that today in the list, I see several wards in Kajiado County have found their way into, to benefit from this fund, Mr. Speaker. Kajiado in totality is going to receive more than 550 million for this, for the Equalization Fund, to be able to undertake projects in areas that are mostly needed, projects of water, projects of roads, electricity, health services, Mr. Speaker, I see Kajiado Central is going to get above 193 million. Kajiado South is going to receive a total of more than 84 million. Kajiado West is going to receive quite a bit, 279 million. Mr. Speaker, these are very needy areas in Kajiado County, Dalat Lekutuk Ward, Matapato North and Matapato South Ward, Purko Ward, Imbirikani in Kajiado South, Eselengei, Kuku, Rombo. In Kajiado West, Uwaso Kedong, Kekonyokie, Magadi, Mosiro, and Lodokilani. Mr. Speaker, I am happy that these areas, which I crisscrossed during the campaign period, because I was initially in Kajiado East, but I had an opportunity in the last election to crisscross the entire county, and I saw the dire need in places like Magadi, where there is a shortage of water. You will find children who are looking after livestock running to the road to wave down any vehicle that is coming to ask for water, to ask just for drinking water. Mr. Speaker, there are areas in this country that are extremely needy and that are extremely in need of services, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, places like Mosiro, places like Ewaso are in need of not just water, but health facilities. They are in need of roads infrastructure, they are in need of electricity. But this notwithstanding, Mr. Speaker, I am also in equal measure really sad. Sad that Kajiado East has been left out of benefiting from the Equalization Fund. Yet in Kajiado East, there are very needy wards, like Poka Kenyewa Ward, where the situation is dire in terms of roads infrastructure, in terms of accessibility to water, in terms of accessibility to health services, and even to electricity. Mr. Speaker, this is where I do not understand, the kind of parameters that have been adopted by CRA. That they find some areas, though rural, though diverse, those sparse, some are needy, some are not. Yet in the same areas, you will not find roads, you will not find health facilities. People are going through a lot of challenges, but Kajiado East in totality was left out. Kajiado North has been left out. And Kajiado North and Kajiado East have always been looked using the lenses of Nairobi, that they are just close by in Nairobi. But they are close by in Nairobi, yet they don't have infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. They are close by in Nairobi, and in the urban areas, there are no sewer systems, Mr. Speaker. In the urban areas, garbage, actually, during the campaigns, I had them giving names of candidates to mountains of garbage. In a place like Rongai, garbage is literally taking over almost half of the town. And so is Kitengela in a place called Nonkopir. And so if urban areas are just, secluded and not included as beneficiaries of the Equalization Fund, then we will be missing the point. Because it is in urban areas that you even find greater poverty. It is in urban areas that you find places called Majengo, and they are not just called Majengo for nothing. They have adopted a certain, characteristic and a life of their own. That there are no services, there is no electricity, there is no water, garbage is all over, the towns have not been planned, And so our urban centers should not be left, Mr. Speaker, out of benefiting from the Equalization Fund. In places like Kitengela, a sewer system is really a dire need. Yet Kitengela is one of the fastest growing towns in this country because there is an overflow from Nairobi. Kitengela still needs roads, bypasses. They are depending on one single road going to Namanga. And that is why every day you'll find a 2-hour, 3-hour jam in Kitengela because this infrastructure is not there, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, I would urge that CRA develops other parameters that will be more inclusive, that will take care of the needs of Kenyans without necessarily just looking at urban and thinking urban are rich, they are working people. There are a lot of people in urban areas who are not working. They're just there, They can't pay their rent. They can't take care of their kids. Their kids are not going to school, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, I would urge that such areas are included because I tend to believe Kajiado North and Kajiado East were left out just because they have portions of it that look urban. But yet in Kajiado North, we have a place called Geshagi. It's not called Geshagi for nothing. It's called Geshagi because it's in dire need of services that it's not getting, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, I support the passage of this bill. I support the areas that have found their way into benefiting. But there are other areas that have been left that should not have been left. Mr. Speaker, I have a friend who usually calls these towns, Kitengela, Shamba la Mawe. Shamba la Mawe because people are trying to make ends meet in that Kitengela. People are trying to make ends meet in Rongai, but yet they are not cultivating, but they must eat at the end of the day. So whether it means kupiga watu ngeta or whatever it is for one to survive, that's how people are surviving in some of these areas, Mr. Speaker. And these are Kenyans who need to be taken care of. These are Kenyans who need to get services. These are Kenyans who need to be, included holistically. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, I say CRA needs to get other parameters that will be more inclusive, that will be holistic in nature, that will address, the various needs of Kenyans. When you're told of Korogosho in Nairobi, you know for sure, and Mathare and other areas, these are places where there are needy Kenyans who need services, but the services are not necessarily reaching them. Yet they are part of the bigger Nairobi, where there is the expressway, where there is JKIA, and, where there are the suburbs, of the well-to-do, Westlands and the others. But there are other areas in Nairobi that are very needy, Mr. Speaker. And so I just don't want CRA to be narrow-minded in their way of, in their view of the country, Mr. Speaker. They must try to reach the poor of the poor. They must try to reach those in Korogosho. They must try to reach those in urban areas as they reach those in the rural areas, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you and I support the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Kamar Margaret.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to add my voice on this bill. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the passage of the Equalization Fund bill. Mr. Speaker, Equalization Fund was established under the new Constitution in 2010. And under Article 2041. And the reasons for establishing this figure was to equalize the country, as the name says. Mr. Speaker, It was meant to address very basic needs in society. The issue of water, accessibility through roads, health facilities, and electricity. It was a very nice breakthrough, Mr. Speaker, in the Boma's discussions that the basic needs of Kenyans were articulated as areas of equality. That there is no equality in this country unless we are equal in these social rights, accessing clean water, accessing our own home areas through good road networks, and health facilities, Mr. Speaker. But it is very sad that as we are talking, we still have that inequality going on. Despite of the fact that at that time, during the Boma's discussions, everybody was anxious to get this behind us. And in fact, there was a time limit for Equalization Fund. And the time limit was being given because it was something that was seen as doable. It was something that was seen as a must for a nation to develop. Because, Mr. Speaker, anybody who cannot access clean water, children who are not able to access clean water would have health issues. And if they cannot access both clean water and health facilities, then it's even worse. It's very embarrassing that over 60 years after independence, we are still discussing these basic needs, Mr. Speaker. But today, I think we should stand proud as senators to really emphasize the need for this money to be dispersed. Because, Mr. Speaker, I was in that 10th Parliament, and although the Constitution was passed in the 10th Parliament, the year 2011, 2012, out of the formula, we knew there was going to be 2.3 billion being sent to these counties, but nothing actually left. 2012, 2013, nothing was sent. 2013, 2014, nothing was sent. It was only in the year 2014, 2015 that 400 million was dispersed. And even then, to get a formula of dividing that money was a major issue. Mr. Speaker, I think the formula is right inside the Constitution, and we don't need to belabor. Once a percentage has been given, that is what we should be sticking to, and we should be dispersing. The issue, therefore, to me, that is of major importance to this Senate is the disbursement of this money. If for 3 consecutive years it was not dispersed, and in fact thereafter, 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020, when I was in this Senate, still there were issues, and I doubt even if fund was dispersed. Every time it was a formula, OCRC is still looking for a formula. We cannot stick to formulas when we know that there are issues that must be passed. When this was being discussed before it was formed, before it was established, Mr. Speaker, it was very clear that there was inequality in this country in development. That from independence, there was inequality. And it was accepted by everybody. The 600 delegates that were in Bomas accepted it. And it was very clear, and I say this because I am always proud that I participated in the Bomas process, Mr. Speaker. It was very clear that we must equalize our development first. Basic needs. Everybody must get that. Mr. Speaker, it is sad because as politicians, we have been using water for campaigns. Senator campaigns, I'll bring you water. Governor campaigns, I'll bring you water. MPs campaign, I'll bring you water. Every 5 years, we are discussing the same water, and nothing seems to be moving. Even as senators whom we know we don't have money to give that water, we fight for the portion that comes through the governor, which we should, in a way, through our oversight, ensure that our governors are distributing money properly and basic needs are met. But when it comes to Equalization Fund, we have specific counties, specific constituencies that have suffered a lot because of the fact that there was inequality at the beginning. There was, in fact, a term in Bomas that was called historical injustice. And these sectors were lumped into land as historical injustices. And Mr. Speaker, it is very, very important that this Senate rises to the occasion. That this time round, let us see these 14.89 billion going to the counties. And I think we need to discuss that from the day we pass this bill today. That once the bill has been passed, let us follow to the ground and ensure that this money goes. This should be priority funds, because this is a fund that is looking at the basic needs of basic human rights of the people on the ground. All this, when you go to the Bill of Rights chapter in the Constitution, were also human rights. They were rights, because Kenyans have a right to health, proper health care. They have a right to sufficient clean water. These are rights on the other side. So these are things that we should not compromise at any time. And I was very happy to listen to the contributions of my colleagues, that this is an area that we really need to push. My plea to our colleagues is that this is the area that we must do oversight. If this money called oversight comes to Senate, I think we should really work around these areas to make sure that our people, after these 5 years, have a changed environment, a changed living environment, that they have some of these basic needs. Because honestly, we cannot be discussing year in, year out about money that is allocated and nothing goes to the ground. So it's my prayer that this time round, the money will reach the ground, and that there will be changes. Mr. Speaker, with that, I support.
Senator Okenyuri Esther.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I also want to rise to support the Equalization Fund Appropriations Bill, though a bit very sad that we have to actually come up with a bill to support provision of basic services. Basic services, that is water, roads, health facilities, and electricity. You know, in as much as I actually appreciate that we are a developing country, confronted with very many challenges that we have fought since we acquired independence, it's sad that at this point we have to come with a bill that is compelling money to go down to assist in basic services, and some of these issues that are mentioned affect very many marginalized groups. I'm happy, yes, these counties that are listed here will be receiving the money, but I would also want to know that in those specific counties, which marginalized groups are these that will be of priority? When you look at health services, most of the people who are affected by a lack of it or a good bit of it is women, young people, who comprise a large population in this country. And I would be very keen to know, yes, we are pushing for these monies to go down there, but also would want to highlight on how these marginalized groups are also benefiting down there. Once we have these monies going down there, like for the young people, then we will be dealing with the issue of rural to urban migration. A county like Narok is very rich enough to actually cater for its young people so that they do not have to come to Nairobi, because that's one challenge that we are dealing with. Actually, the priorities of the Kenya Kwanza government during our campaigns was to ensure that we create an enabling environment for people to thrive on whatever little issues they were doing. So the moment we are actually building the capacity of marginalized groups in the different counties, we are going to deal with the issue of rural to urban migration so that we equally develop those remote areas, because that was the spirit of this new constitution that embraced devolved units to get services closer to the people. We will not hear of pregnant women delivering on the road before they even get to hospital. And even currently now the challenge we are facing, we are now having those pregnant women getting to hospital, but as a result of congestion in those hospital beds and the small babies, most of the babies who actually come out are epileptic. So we are all together dealing with the other new emerging issues, when in the real sense we wanted to sort out issues we thought that were very basic and very small in highlighting. My county, of course, is not a beneficiary, but I would challenge this CRA to actually also consider some of these other counties, because a county might be termed rich, but when you go down narrow to specifics, there are areas that need support of the Equalization Fund so that they can also compete fairly with the rest of the Kenyans. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this, but with the special highlights that I've requested, especially to the specific looking at which marginalized groups, apart from the counties, are women in those counties being given priority in considering whatever projects they want, are young people being put at the front when considering what projects to fund. So we will surely support having of this money, but in perspective is these marginalized groups who have long been disadvantaged, even as we support affirmative action. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mohammed Said Chute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. In support of this bill, Mr. Speaker, I would want to highlight something that is bothering northern part of Kenya. Let me speak about Marsabit. During the colonial era, Marsabit, the northern part of Kenya, were called NFD, Northern Frontier District. We've been denied all developments. Then, when we got independence, we were called marginalized area during Kenyatta time. When Moi took over, that name was still there. We were called marginalized. Kibaki era, still called marginalized. Uhuru time, marginalized again. And even the current government is still has not left that name marginalized. But we are yet to see. We have got 4 more years remaining. But listening to what the president said 2 weeks ago, he was talking about one man, one vote. That is still called marginalization. Mr. Speaker, Marsabit County is one of the largest counties in Kenya. In fact, not one of the largest. It's the largest county in Kenya, area-wise, including part of Lake Turkana. And Mr. Speaker, being the largest county in Kenya, and if you go through Chalbi Desert, going to Northor, going to Turkana, if you compare us with people in Central Province, then yes, they have numbers. But us, we have massive land where our people cannot cross easily. Mr. Speaker, in support of this bill is supposed to end in 2030. We have got only 7 years left. And the Treasury has been definitely, deliberately trying to stop payments going to marginalized areas. And this is very unfortunate. This is a good bill, Mr. Speaker. And we don't need frustration from the Treasury, because now we have Kenya Kwanza government, I would urge the Kenya Kwanza government to support money sent to the county governments. We have got capable officers who can manage this money in the counties. We want this money to go to the counties. As we speak in this document, what I have is we have 4 constituencies, Mr. Speaker. Northor is the largest in area-wise. We are getting 198 million. Mr. Speaker, Laisamis is getting 250 million, and I'm very, very happy for Laisamis to get 250 million because of the situation in those areas. Similarly, Mr. Speaker, we have got Moyale, which is getting 145 million. Saku, where I come from, is getting only 37 million. Mr. Speaker, I would suggest next time, I'm happy Northor, Laisamis, and Moyale are getting substantial amount. But if you look at our area, Mr. Speaker, the area Marsabit is covering, Mandera is getting 1 billion shillings. We are getting around 631 million. In fact, if you look at the area we are covering, if, for example, you leave Isiolo going to Ileret, it will take you 4 days to reach Ileret, unlike Mandera. And I would suggest next time, if they cannot give us a little bit more than Mandera, at least they would equal it so that we get 1 billion shillings also. Mr. Speaker, the county government also, this is not small amount of money, whatever we are getting. The county government also should put this money into good use. Mr. Speaker, the county governors are people who are born in those counties, brought up in those counties, went to school in those counties. And they belong to this community. They should manage. They should take responsibility to manage these funds. We have got dispensaries, Mr. Speaker, in Marsabit County. Sadly, Mr. Speaker, I have gone around those dispensaries. There are no dawas, no medicine, nothing you'll find in those dispensaries, Mr. Speaker. No health workers, none. No electricity, no water. If you want to go to a dispensary, the next dispensary you will get is a private dispensary, which is about 200 kilometers away. All the way from Kargi, Loyangalani, you'll go to Marsabit to get treatment from a private clinic, Mr. Speaker. And we have monies going to the counties in terms of 1 billion shillings. Mr. Speaker, why am I saying they should take care of this money? These monies are meant for each constituency. The monies which are meant for a particular constituency should go to that constituency. And also the community there the elders and the contractors and the suppliers also should come from the same constituency so that the communities also, the transporters, the suppliers, and the contractors can benefit from the resources that are coming to their constituency. Mr. Speaker, we have problems with ECDs. We have got many ECDs, Mr. Speaker. Some of them don't have even desks. Some don't have teachers, most of them. Mr. Speaker, as I speak today, I have, from my own pocket, I am paying almost 15 ECD teachers every month. With this money being stuck here, people live in Nairobi enjoying life. They refuse to take money to Marsabit, to send money to Marsabit. Because where they come from, they have good water, good roads, good schools, good books, everything good. Us, we don't have those things. It is not because we are weak, we are lazy, we are bad. No, it's because, unfortunately, we were born in those areas and neglected for the last 50 years, or even more years. Mr. Speaker, this bill, we are left with only 7 years to 2030. And if we don't get this money today, with this new government, which we supported, then I don't think we are going to get this money ever. Mr. Speaker, let me talk about clean water. Mr. Speaker, a lady called me from a place called Sololo. She told me, Senator, please send me money. I want to buy 4 cartons of water, mineral water, from Moyale, which is about 100 kilometers from Sololo. I asked her, what is wrong with your water? She told me her children are taking water which are not fit for human consumption. They have kidney problems, Mr. Speaker. Young children, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years old. Then I sent her that money. It took her 2 days to get that water. The children are complaining they are having kidney problems. They're having pain. They don't know where the kidney is, but they say we have pain. Mr. Speaker, if we get this money in good time, I'm sure with our also governors, once they get this money, if they put this money into good use, those young children will not have this kind of issues. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, Marsabit County, for the last 4 years, we got the rain just recently. Our livelihood, we depend on camels, goats, and cows, you know, of course. And I will tell you today, 70% or 80% are all gone. If this money goes to Marsabit County and all other 46 counties, I'm sure this money is going to do marvelous. It is going to help our people, subject to this money being audited and put into proper use. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator Chute. Senator Esi, what is your intervention?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, looking at the composition in this House, I think we are lacking the necessary quorum to proceed. That I am rising as per Standing Order number 41 on quorum during the proceedings of the Senate. So I would urge that we adjourn because we do not have quorum in this House.
Clerk, let's confirm the number. And indeed, the numbers are not. Sergeant at Arms, could you call the quorum bell for 10 minutes? Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 41-2, there being no quorum, the Senate stands adjourned until Tuesday, 25th of April, 2023 at 2:30 p.m.